Want us to discuss what is the inner child. The inner child, it is the memories that we have out of our childhood. What is it that you remember? Do you remember maybe when your mom was cooking, when your dad used to come late and out of work, or the birthdays that you are done for, or sadly, some remember, the verbal abuse, the beatings, you know, and worse to worse, even sexual abuse. And I'm not taking you back so that it can trigger your emotions, because some of you will be triggered. But understand, this is a journey that you will not regret. This is a journey to develop your higher sense of self, to see yourself, as a being, to find yourself, to individualize yourself now that you're an adult. This is a journey that you have to take. It is a solo journey, but it is worth it. It will be painful, but it was worth it. So those memories that are in your brain, that is what is the inner child. And understand this, our inner child is always communicating. Your inner child is never lost. It is a part of you that will die with you. It is a part of you that loves you more than you know. And it is always communicating. And how does it communicate? It is either calm and content, or it acts out. And once now, when the inner child, let's say, start acting out, it will stand in the way of us forming healthy relationships. For example, if let's say you were never had as a child, and now all of a sudden, now that you're an adult, you're always triggered when somebody tries to silence you. You're triggered, maybe your boss is even speaking to you, but it takes you back. You don't even know. It's an unconscious habit, but it takes you back. The inner child is triggered, and now all of a sudden you have that verbal outburst. You see, it is blocking you from having a healthy relationship. Or if you grew up in a verbal abusive home, physically abusive, one coping mechanism you had as a child is that you'd isolate yourself. You'd isolate yourself so that you don't stir the waters. You don't bring up conversations that you know very well this beating can happen to me, and you know how severe it was. Now you're an adult. The same coping mechanism of you being silent, of you isolating yourself. How far can you isolate yourself in this world? How can you isolate yourself when you want to go after your dreams? How can you isolate yourself when you want to find that soulmate? How can you isolate yourself when life is passing you by and you're not living life in the fullest? When you see other people embracing life, living life, it doesn't have to be a life living large. Just, speaking out your dreams, speaking out for the world to hear your voice. In work environments, how do you speak for that raise? You see, it is standing you to your own growth. It is standing out you to your own, prosperity. That is why the inner child is very important, because your inner child can either make you make it or break it. It can either make you make it in the world, or it can break you to pieces. If your inner child is working on your behalf, you will be lost as an individual. Because first things first, if you were never taught on individualization, and how are you taught on individualization? Whereby you as a child, you are promoted to holistic, your ideas were met, your emotions were heard, your birthdays, it was all love, it was all kisses, it was all hugs. And let me tell you this thing, these things are not minute. Hugs, kisses, they are not. Because out of those, now you're in a world whereby you're looking for those hugs and kisses. How many people have joined in relationship looking for the father wound? How many women you see them out there, in relationships that there is a serious gap, and I don't mean in all. I don't mean in all. Some, it's genuine. But majority, it's because of the father wound. How many boys or men, when their father, example, in a I'm a Kikuyu, and in a Muranga County, men are known to be alcoholics. And why is it, why is it that there's that trend? Because in 1963, men, they formed the Mau Mau. It was a revolt whereby they were fighting against the British government. And young men used to be recruited, and the women were left behind. So out of those men that were raised, out of that lack in those men, in their fathers, in those homes, they ended up, finding solace in alcoholism. That's why back in those areas, alcoholism is so rampant. You see, it is leading a hold to your own growth. Many people, even let me add, if and I'm sorry to use this example, but it's the truth. If you see a woman deciding to be promiscuous, prostitute, it's because they underwent sexual abuse. Majority, majority, because they are taking back the power. Their mind is wired that, you know what, I'm taking this right now, I'm having sex in my own terms. You see how it's leading you to not being a productive member. And why? Because your inner child wants some attention. And now, back then, when in your childhood, it was not given attention. It is still seeking the same attention by now such coping mechanisms. That is why it is very crucial for you to know your inner child. And why? Because when it runs the shows, it chooses behaviors based on the past. I know right now you've seen the relation. When the inner child is running behind the scenes, it is choosing ideas based on that past, because the inner child doesn't know that we grew up. The environment has changed. We are no longer under the same environment. Right now I have power. Right now you're safe. That is why the inner child is very important. And why? And why? Why is it that it's important? Because the first step is for you to have a collaborative team. You and your inner child get in touch. However dark those memories will be, however teary those memories will be, because I'm telling you, if you start, it will be teary, but that's what the inner child wants. And before you come into the comments, oh, I don't want to cry, I have grown up. You've grown up, but you see, assess your life, assess it. Is the relationship dynamics that I have, are they reflection of who I want to become? Where I am, is it a reflection of who I want to become? Or am I repeating the pattern? Am I repeating the cycle? These things that you see, women, mother wounds, it started from great great grandmother to grandmother to mother to now you're passing it to your child. Just because you didn't sit down with the inner child. This inner child will make you vulnerable. You'll have tears. But I'm telling you, it is worth the while. It is worth the while. Take a moment, sit down. That numbness that you have within yourself, those memories, that period that you don't want to sit by yourself, sit with it. Find solace, find solitude in it, and listen. And as I finish, most people, there's no greater pain than running from your own self. Like, you can't sit with yourself in solitude and in peace. That is the worst. There's no amount of money that can make you run with yourself. Understand, you're with yourself till death. Your children will come and go. Your partner will come and go. And by the way, if you can't stand yourself, the people that are you're surrounding yourself with, you're making them pay. Pay. Because you're either clingy, you're either needy, you're either avoidant, you're either distant. To your children, you're overbearing them. You're too egocentric because you're not living in authenticity. So, this is a solo journey. This is how you break the curse or the pattern. See you in the next video.